right that this framework is important. The difference between being free and sovereign and subordinate and accountable. If I'm correct that there's a difference between rights and duties, and I am, then it's worth asking, well, where should a corporation as an entity sort of go within this way of looking at it? Well, if a corporation is created by only the state can actually issue the charter. If the charter can describe what the duties of a corporation are, and it can be held accountable, and I would argue it should only be allowed to act in the public interest, can you see why I would argue that a corporation should be understood to be a public entity? Because the privilege of limited liability is profound, and that the people should be able to control what these entities can or cannot do. And so, when the unelected and unaccountable U.S. Supreme Court says, oh no, actually, we on our own are simply going to say, not the government, not our elected representatives, not we the people, but the court, actually 5 members of the U.S. Supreme Court says, really, we need to think about corporations as a person, and that corporations therefore have actual rights under law. It perverts this whole framework. Corporate personhood is not just an idea that is odd or illogical, which it is. It's not just something that should concern lawyers, which it does. Even deeper still, I'm suggesting to you that this notion of corporations having constitutional rights is a linchpin for how we, the people, have had our authority and our right to govern ourselves stolen from us. And our legal system has been used to legitimize and legalize the theft of our sovereign, I would say our sacred right to self-government. Now, I'm not going to tell you for 1 minute that I think that democracy or a democratic republic means that David Cobb wins, or that progressives get to win. What I am telling you is what it's supposed to mean in a democratic republic is that individual human beings have rights that can never be violated by the public or by the majority, but the majority does have the right. We collectively are supposed to be making the decisions on how to organize ourselves, as long as we don't violate anybody's core rights. The U.S. constitutional framework, as we are told, as it's supposed to operate, is brilliant. The problem is that it was never actually that way to begin with. In fact, no less a historian than Howard Zinn has said, one way to think about the entire history of the United States of America is by a lens of ordinary groups of human beings to fight to be legally persons under the Constitution. That is a very powerful way to think about this. And the problem is that now that we've got the cultural agreement that all human beings get to be persons with rights, the wealthy elite, the small minority, and I mean the real minority, because the real minority are not women, the real minority are not even racial or ethnic minority. The real minority is about the 0.5% who owns damn near everything and are basically making the decisions about how our society ought to be operating. The problem is that this idea has become so enshrined under law that it's become like the Matrix, where we're not even aware anymore of really why everything's messed up. But when I ask, do we the people rule in this country? I'll remind you, not a single one of you were willing to say, yes, we do. Folks, I'm telling you, this idea of corporations claiming constitutional rights is a manner, it's a mechanism. Whether you're a principled conservative, whether you're a raging liberal, whether you're a radical, it doesn't matter where you stand on individual issues. What I'm saying is, the reality is that we can't engage in proper political discourse. We can't actually engage in the kind of meaningful debate about how to order our society if every time we pass a law, corporate lawyers can just go into court and overturn that law. Laws that are designed to try to protect the environment have been overturned because it violates the corporation's Fourth Amendment rights. Laws attempting to regulate corporations and how they treat workers have been overturned because they violate the Fifth Amendment constitutional right. Laws that are designed to protect the safety and health of consumers and the public have been overturned. And most recently, in an egregious decision called Citizens United versus the Federal Election Commission, the U.S. court overturned campaign finance laws designed to protect the integrity of our electoral process.